All right, hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar with ATG. I appreciate you tuning in today to learn about a new and exciting function available for Civil 3D called Project Explorer. This will absolutely change the way that you interact with your design data. It's going to give you the insight that you need to perfect your design, all while bringing more efficiency while you make these adjustments to your project. My name is Jason Hartley. I am a senior technical specialist here at ATG. We are an Autodesk Platinum partner, and I am an Autodesk certified instructor. In addition to Autodesk, we partner with Bluebeam, Esri, BIMBox, and more. Our goal is to really be your one-stop shop for software, hardware, training, and support. We love doing these webinars. If you have any suggestions for future ones, feel free to let us know. If you have any questions during this particular presentation, feel free to use the chat function here in Zoom. After the facts, you can always reach me at jartley@atgusa.com. Today's webinar is all about Project Explorer. We'll talk a little bit about the history of this software. We'll talk about how to install it, and then we'll use it to explore our Civil 3D drawing data. And as we're going through this, we'll make some changes to the configuration to make Project Explorer easier to use. So, getting right to it. Project Explorer has actually been around for several years, and it's been used successfully by some of the best firms in the world. And Autodesk being Autodesk, they've been very successful by acquiring firms or products that match their sort of growth targets and their target market. They took notice of Project Explorer. In May of 2020, they purchased this software from a company called 3AM Solutions in the UK. So in between after they picked it up, they made a couple tweaks to the software to make it work better with Civil 3D, and they released it in August of 2020. And this was released at the same time as Civil 3D 2021.1. Now, I thought it was kind of weird how they timed it, but this software isn't just for Civil 3D 21.1 and above. So when we start looking at installing it, you're going to be going to your manage.autodesk.com, and you'll go through your list, and um, you'll see under Civil 3D that there is a Project Explorer option here. If you don't have access to manage.autodesk.com, talk to your IT folks and have request this software. So when you start going through it, once you expand that Civil 3D Project Explorer, you're going to see that it says there's a download for 2021 only. And this is a little weird because when you install this, it will install for 2020 as well. So if you only have Civil 3D 2020 installed, you should be able to download this, and it will work on 2021 and 2020. So if you don't need to do anything separate, once you launch either one of those programs, you'll see this in the add-in ribbon of Civil 3D. So with that, we'll take a break from PowerPoint and we'll jump right over to Civil 3D, and I'll show you how this looks. Now, I've got a very generic project in here that has a bunch of different information. I've got some alignments, some surfaces, some corridors, and some assemblies. I have a lot in my project that we're going to explore. And that's where our little adventure begins. So with this drawing, I have the option, of course, to open up my tool space and go through my prospector tab to find my surfaces and to find my points and to find my point groups. And I can go through here and I can make some adjustments. I can go to the properties and I can see all of the data that makes up my alignments and all of the definition that occurs in my surface. But it's really kind of annoying to have to go to all these things one at a time. And keep in mind, once I have this open, I have to make changes and hit apply and go through a bunch of different things. And Project Explorer looks to make this whole process of managing your civil objects easier. So as we have categories for points and point groups and surfaces and alignments and type networks and all those other things, we're going to see all this in the Project Explorer, but it's going to be organized in a different way. After installation of Project Explorer, you can find this on the add-ins ribbon. When I select the add-ins ribbon, there will be an option here to launch Project Explorer. When I select Project Explorer, we'll let this fire up, and this is going to bring up a modeless dialog box, meaning that I can still fully interact with my drawing back here. I can select things. This Project Explorer is not interfering with that at all. Now, let me preface this part. Um, this is going to be a little odd to demonstrate in a webinar format. This dialog box is really meant to live on an external monitor. So if you have one external monitor or two would be even better. This window here is intended to live on a separate monitor and it's supposed to stay up all the time. Again, it's modeless. So you can interact with your drawing completely and it's not going to affect anything on the Project Explorer window itself. But we need to go through and we'll make some adjustments here for the webinar format where I can make changes, but they're going to be a little harder to see because this big, beautiful window is in the way. Now, this window is what makes Project Explorer what it is. So I'll be leaving it fairly large to show off its features and its functions as we go through. All right. So when you open our Project Explorer, this will pop up and it's organized into tabs and columns, not too far off from our existing panoramas that we've used before and the tabs that we see on our ribbon. And here at the top, you see we have a tab for alignments, and we have a tab for assemblies, and we have a tab for corridors. As we continue through, we'll dive into all of the objects that make up these tabs. You can see here on the alignments tab, I'm getting a preview of what's going on. I have a preview of this particular alignment. And if I choose different ones, you see I get a preview here. I don't have to zoom into my drawing to look at that profile, nor do I really need to have that profile configured in a certain way. In Project Explorer, I can use this as my example to make whatever changes I need to make. And if I click on different points in my calculated stations down here, I can make adjustments to anything that is in the color purple. We'll talk about the color purple in a little bit too. Um, this will allow me to make all sorts of visualization changes. I can adjust profile types. I can see what's going on. I can change the style of my objects, and I can just do a whole lot. So if we jump over to assemblies, same type of thing. I'm getting a free, not a free preview. I'm getting a preview of my entire assembly. And again, anything that is purple, I can change. If I want to change a code set style or an assembly name or anything else, I can make those changes by double clicking on it. So by using Project Explorer, you take some of the visualization out of it. If you're working in a production environment and you're worried about how things look on plan and profile and how it's going to be printed, that's one concern. But if you're more while you're in the design phase or you're the engineer, you can work on things inside of the Project Explorer that's going to give you just what you need to see, right? And we can focus on certain assemblies all at once. Okay? If I click on this assembly, for example, it changes that preview. I can preview all of the assemblies that are inside of my drawing currently, and I can go through there. Now, with everything that I'm doing, whether it be alignment or an assembly, you're going to see an option here at the top where this has the grid, the axis, the text, the icons, the points, and I can toggle these on and off. I can toggle my grid on and off. It's kind of hard to see, but it's actually changing. I can change the scales. If I want to look at things in different scales, I can see all of that. So there's lots of options here to adjust what you see. And again, this isn't affecting your actual design. It's on your page. Not until you start changing, styles or code set styles, right? And speaking of assemblies, while I'm staying on here, I'll jump back to my residential full. And here you see in the top, here's all the assemblies that are in the drawing. And it's giving you insight to how many corridors it appears in, how many regions, how many sub-assemblies make up that assembly, and all of your other data. If you come down to the bottom, we have more access to all of the things that make up that particular assembly, right? So residential full has 6 sub-assemblies, and I see those 6 sub-assemblies right down here. I can see how many links, points, shapes, what's on the left side, what's on the right. If I need to change the width of my lane, again, I can do that real quick all in the same window. If I need this to be 16 feet instead, I can select that, not select that. I can crank that up. There we go, 16 3/4. It's making that adjustment and it takes me right back to my window. Again, if this was on the other screen where it wasn't blocking out everything, this would be a little bit more impressive. But having this sort of command center of everything that's inside of your Civil 3D drawing is pretty amazing. Now, we can continue through this. I can look at, I can adjust my um, descriptions. I can adjust these values based on which subassembly I'm choosing. Again, anything in purple is able to be changed. Now, if purple isn't easy to see, whether it be just your lighting or whatever, or for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to change the purple color to something a little brighter to make it easier to view. I'll come down to preferences, and here we've got all sorts of settings where we can uh, choose our layout, what we want to see. If I don't care about my alignments or if I don't care about my corridors, I can toggle those off to simplify the ribbon. So instead of seeing a 0 value like we see up at the top, I can take those out entirely. But I can also change here my font color for editable values. And if I click on this, let's make that green instead. Hopefully this shows up okay. And that adjusts. They highlight a little better, but it's a little harder to read. So we'll go ahead and change that back. We'll make it, see if dark blue looks better. So, yeah, there we go. Now I can read it. It's very easy to see which things are editable, which things are locked, and so on and so forth. We've looked at our alignments, it gives us our preview. We've looked at our assemblies, which gives us our preview. When we go to corridors, we see the same thing, but with a little bit more information. We've got full control of our corridor baselines and full control of our corridor feature lines. Again, anything that is showing up in blue currently, which would be purple by default, is editable. So if I need to take a look at this thing, if I need to go along my corridor to a different station, I can make those jumps all right here. I can find my different point codes or shape codes or subassembly names. Like I can go through here and really pull good data without having to right click and go to properties of every little thing. Right, super handy. You can also go from here and create corridors. If you wanted to interact with your baselines and regions right from this window, that is possible. And if you're making changes to any sort of name or code set style and you need to, or not name or code set style, but if you make any changes to your assemblies or regions and you need to rebuild your corridor, you can also do that from the Project Explorer. In addition to being able to jump back and forth between your stations or your geometry points, you can also just click right through them and run right down the line. This is pretty handy. Now, I can also compare this to other things. If I need to compare to another surface or compare to another corridor, I can overlay things at the same time using the compare to function. We'll use that more when we get to the surface tab. Now, inside of our corridors, of course, again, we have the ability to change our views on what we want to see, and we can still change some information. I can't adjust everything, right? I'm not able to change some of the geometry of my feature lines. You'll see a lot of that is logged out. I can't move stations from 599. I can't round that up to the 6+00 because there's something else tied to it. But I can still see quite a bit, and this is still much handier than anything else. If I jump over to the next tab, I have my point groups and all of my points. Here I can adjust my points, all my label styles, and all of my points at the same time. So if I needed to change point names or anything else, again, be careful with that. Um, Especially if you're dealing with survey data like I've got in here. You don't want to mess with this too much, but you can if you really needed to. Perhaps for labeling, that would come in a little handier. Or if you're doing some proposed um, calcs for your points, you might want to do some changes in here. Otherwise, you're probably going to leave this alone. However, your groups, though, you might want to change your label styles or your point styles globally. And you can easily do that here without having to go through each one at a time through the tool space. Points are kind of boring, but we do have filters. If we wanted to go through anything else, we'll skip that for now. And we'll get over to our surfaces. Surfaces does take a couple seconds to load because we've got so much information in here, right? We're seeing all of the surface triangles. Right, surface is a 10, our triangulated irregular network. Here are all the triangle locations. Here's their edge slopes. Here's a bunch of things. So if we were really getting nuts about editing our surface and we were using like the swap edge command a lot, this could help us get better values and better control of the actual surface that we were working with. We can also go through, again, change our styles, change our descriptions, do a whole bunch of things in here. I can choose if I want to show or hide them. I can lock my information. There's so much that I can do. There's also ability in all of these, I should have mentioned this earlier, to change columns. If you want to see them side by side instead of horizontally stacked, you have that ability as well. Again, this is meant to be your command center. So you're going to configure this with the colors and the layouts that you want that make it easier for you to see objects that are inside of your Civil 3D project. All right. We'll jump over to our next tab. I've got nothing in here for feature lines, but we would see a preview of those, and we'd see the whole name. We'd see all the points that make up with them. For this one, you would be able to make those changes to the elevation. As we talked about earlier with our corridors, some of those feature lines can function as a baseline of a corridor, but we didn't have the ability to adjust those elevations. If I jump over to the feature line tab, that's where I would be able to see these. And I would be able to make those adjustments if they were in that editable color, right? Just by double clicking on them. Same thing with parcels. We have the ability to view all of our parcels here. If you're doing subdivision layouts or working on legal descriptions or anything like that, you're going to see a lot of great information all laid out here in the parcel tab. If I jump over one more, there's all of my pipe networks where I can see my various information and get this set up. Now, I didn't go through this one to make sure everything was in here, so I'm not seeing any editable data. But what we'll do is I'll close this and I'll create just a generic pipe network real quick, just to lay something out. Test, and we'll choose my storm sewer, and that will be my site. My alignment name will be this one, and we'll go name only storm. We'll use those. These label styles are going to be ugly, but I'll lay this out. Pull up my information here. I'll give this a structure and a pipe, and I'm just going to click through here. It's going to be not so pretty, but the goal is to have editable data inside of our Project Explorer to go refer to. So I'll end that one. Now we have a very basic, very crude, very very not engineered test set of data. I'll go ahead and close my network tools. We'll go back to our add-ins. Again, if you have a separate monitor, you're not going to have to switch this on and off because this is going to live on that other monitor. So now that I have a new pipe network in here, I can jump over here and there is our test. And notice this time it's blue. So anything in here that's blue can be changed. And when I click on it, look at this nice preview I'm getting. It's showing me uh, my profile. It's showing me my different depths. It's showing me my slopes. And I can make all sorts of adjustments. And when I click on my structures, notice it's highlighted. So again, I don't have to worry about how nice my profile looks for production because I'm not even focused on that right now. I'm worried about making sure that my design is correct. And I see from this particular structure that that's a little too high. I'm going to need to drop that down. Well, I can go take a look at my pipes and I can see which ones are which. I can see those. Now notice in here, I cannot, uh, I can change my inverts, but they're not blue. So things get a little funky here with how this is set up. But if I needed to change my pipe to pipe one, put selected pipe one, my start invert is 97 and my end invert is 87. I can go over here and drop this down 19, down a little bit through using the arrows, and I could change my slopes. And again, everything is updating very similar to how it would in other tools, right? And now I'm seeing that preview. So very, very cool to see this happen live. I can adjust my end invert. Again, when I notice what's happening, I'll hit cancel again. When I click on the start invert, pay attention to the dialog box. It's going to come with the start invert already highlighted. And end invert isn't, I can't do anything with this. However, when I hit cancel and I click on my end invert, now it's backwards, right? I can adjust the end invert and I can adjust the slope, but that one's not changing. So it's holding those locations. If I turn these off by changing my control parameters, that will give me the ability to switch between the two. So this comes in really handy if you're designing a certain way, or maybe you only care about designing with slope. You can make those adjustments to see what you need to do. Right? Very cool function there. And same thing, we've got our pipe selected here now, but if I go to my pipe run, I can see the whole thing. If I go to my structures, I can just focus on those, right? So a lot of great changes that you can make just with this. And if you move the scroll bar over on the right, you can see all the different columns that make up that editable data, right? If I need to adjust my rim to sump height, I can click on those things. I can make those adjustments and totally adjust my entire pipe run all from the Project Explorer. Now you might be wondering, well, how does this fit in with those CTC tools that you're always showing off? Because this is something I wonder about. You know, here at ATG, we like to show off the Sim Project Suite from CTC, and those are fantastic tools. And they have a tool called Pipe Designer that allows you to interact with your pipes in a tabular format. It's really nice. I mean, it works great. And this does sort of compete with that. They both have their pros and cons, and I do not think that Project Explorer is as robust as the pipe designer from CTC, and nor do I think that the pipe designer from CTC is as good as Project Explorer. Right? They both are really good, but they're neither one is right quite there. So if you like to see the data live, I think Project Explorer works a little better. You can always hit apply and set your windows up just right so you can see um, your profile as you're doing it. That kind of goes about it, but or does the same thing. But if you like it in the Project Explorer, again, you got to click over a little bit more. Your pipes and structures are separate. It's different from the CTC tool. So they both have their place. I can't really recommend one or the other if you're just doing pipe work, but overall, Project Explorer is awesome for everything. But again, it will change how you interact with your Civil 3D drawing, but it's not as robust as some of the other tools. So that's where you might want to have everything in your arsenal, depending on the type of work you're doing and how fast you're trying to do that. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so we've made some changes to our pipes. Again, I've created this test one. I can go in there, make any adjustments I want. that is highlighted by the color blue. That will show me all my editable data. This darker red color, though, some of this is editable. And the reason that it's red and not blue all comes back to our preferences. If we go back here, there's a font color for warnings and violations. Or we're looking at our viewport contextual. I think this is the warning and violation. We kept seeing that. I was getting all these warnings, and as I hover over here, I hover over my test one. Notice I'm not getting any warnings. But if I hover over this one, it's telling me, hey, this pipe network contains no pipes or structures. So that's why we can't see it. It contains no pipes and structures. And we can see that being verified right here, right? Pretty cool stuff. Now, when I come down to the bottom, as I mentioned, my test is blue and I can edit it. But when I come down to the bottom, it's red, but I can still edit it, right? I can make these changes. And that's because that color is telling me that, hey, there's a rule violation somewhere going on here. My pipe cover has been violated. My pipe length has been violated. And not only has it been violated, look, it's even showing me how much it's been violated by, right? And as I hover over these start and end invert values, it's doing that math for me. Right? So you're getting an insight to your project that wasn't available before without a calculator, right? So we're trying to make the design process easier, and that's what Project Explorer is trying to do for you inside of Civil 3D. All right, let's keep looking at what else we can look at inside of here. I have the option for sample line groups, right? I don't have any in this particular drawing, but if I wanted to create some real quick, I would be able to see my cross sections in here. Again, super easy way to go through your cross sections. Um, Probably better in the preliminary design function than it would be to actually crank out cross sections to put into model space. But that's pretty slick. Um, do I have a sample line group ready to go? I don't think I do. I won't create one real quick. So let's go back to Project Explorer. We'll skip demonstrating that, but you see where I was going. It'll show you cross sections. Next one is our AutoCAD blocks. Again, something that's kind of hard to see, especially with that new insert button inside of AutoCAD after 2020. Your insert library got a little weirder. We can go through our blocks inside of the Project Explorer, and it will tell us all of the blocks. In this case, some of these are XREFs or blocks that exist inside of XREFs. We can see all the things that make those up. Some of them, again, if I go to this guy here, I've got blue values, which means I can adjust their location, I can adjust their scale. So if I globally needed to change something, or instead of selecting all or going through and clicking a bunch, I can see them all inside of my Project Explorer, and I can make those global changes. And last, we have our object sets. So there's a lot that you can do in here. I haven't used object sets a whole lot in here, so or in Civil 3D. So I don't mess with this one yet. I spend most of my time dealing with the main components of my civil design, being my alignments, my assemblies, my corridors, and my surfaces, right? So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that you can do inside of Project Explorer. All right, let's go back and take a look at some of the other interface and layout functions. I mentioned wanting to customize the Project Explorer so we can tailor this to what we want to see. So I'll jump back to my alignment tab, which shows us our preview of our alignment. I'll jump down to the lower left-hand corner and grab our preferences. This is where we were at before with our general settings, right? And what's nice about this is that we can save these settings. So if you're spending time configuring this for one person, you can certainly save, open, export, import to share with your design team, share with your company. If you're a CAD manager, you can roll this out for everybody in standardized colors to make life easier. Or if you need to make something to cater to folks with color blindness or anything else, you can make those changes and make it easy for them to see, adding to the accessibility of this new software. Now, in this first window that we're looking at, this is where we have the grid lines and our colors and what categories we want. When we start looking at our profile views, we've got all these options too. So if I wanted to change my grid colors, if I wanted to change my grid to white, I can make those changes after I hit OK. And then now that updates. That looks pretty gross, but we're going to roll with it. I can make any changes like that. Just because it was going to distract me. There we go. I can go in and change the colors that I want to see. I can change my grid spacing, my scale exaggeration. I've got those options. For feature lines, same thing. I can adjust all of these options. Again, all of this can be saved, so you don't have to go through this every single time that you want to use Project Explorer. You can just go in and make sure it matches what you'd like to see. We've got same thing for my assembly views, for my corridors, for my pipes, for my sections, and for my reports. I can go through and make these changes. Now, for the reports, you have the option to give different reports how often you want to change those versions. So every day after you close AutoCAD, each year, you've got all sorts of settings that you can access inside of Project Explorer. Right. If I go to the layout option, this one is going to change our column labels. I can change whether or not I want to see them, whether or not they're left justified or right. Again, this is all about making you more productive in your Civil 3D design. So if you need to uh, change things to make them easier to see, or you eliminate the things that don't affect you, like parcels, you can do that. Very cool that they added all these things inside of Project Explorer. I'd love to give Autodesk full credit for that, but this all existed when 3AM first put it out. So good stuff there. And of course, if you're messing with things and things don't look quite right, you can of course reset to the default. It's no big deal. So feel free to download Project Explorer, get it installed. Again, it's going to work in Civil 3D 2020 and 2021, and just start messing with it. Adjust things. Take a look at the different visibility states. If you don't care about seeing grids or whatever, get it set up so it's easier for you to interact with. It's going to make it so it's so that you are more likely to interact with it, right? So wrapping up here, if I had more information in this particular drawing, we'd have more to look at. Again, we've got all sorts of area options to compare. We can overlay, we can do a whole bunch of things. So download it, play with it. Let me know what you think. With that, we'll jump back to PowerPoint. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or type them into the chat window, or use our Q&A option. While the questions are coming in, I will go ahead and talk about some upcoming webinars. So we've got some exciting things coming up. We try to do webinars a couple times a week to share this content with you. Again, if you've got an idea for a webinar that you'd like to have us talk about, you can certainly email me at jartley@atgusa.com. We're always happy to discuss those things with you, or take what you, the viewers, want to see, and we can add those to our calendar. But coming up next week, we've got the second part of our Midwest University Speaker Series. We'll be having Andy Bosch from Kimley Horn join us to do the second part of his corridor trail session. It's pretty cool stuff. If you didn't see part one, feel free, or please check out our YouTube page. Linked. I'll send that link here in a second, where you can see part one in preparation of next Wednesday's webinar. And then next Thursday, we've got a session on reality capture. Leica came out with a new BLK to go handheld laser scanner that allows you to scan in real time as you're holding this handheld device and just walking around. It is super cool. So if you want to see any of our past webinars, um, certainly check out our ATG USA YouTube channel. This is going to have all the past webinars that we've done over the years, including this one. So if you're watching this in the future, thanks for watching. And for you that are on the call right now, I'll say thank you for your time. Thank you for giving ATG USA part of your day. Hopefully this webinar has been handy to you, and I hope you're excited to check it out. So with that, I'll say thank you for your time. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon.